there only two other people here? Is anybody here?
We're here. I'm here.
Hi, Will, I'm here.
Hi, Denny. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Happy Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Interesting being the only person with my camera on. It feels weird. Mike, are you there? Hey, Laura, hi. That makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I'm not the only one. So were either of you here for the first time I did this? Okay, the first time I did this, I felt like I was totally unprepared for it, and I was completely nervous because I didn't really understand the format of these. I feel like I'm a little bit better prepared now. What was that? Okay. I feel like I'm a little bit better prepared now to actually talk about this stuff. What I realize is that a lot of what I do,
You cannot play Russian roulette.
a lot of what I do is that I do the things that I do sort of intuitively. Like I didn't really think about how I did them. I didn't really think about the formula of it all. So I did some time, and I asked Mike if I could have a mulligan and do it again so that I could give a better presentation and a better idea of what it is that I did. And I came up with a couple of videos that I'd like to show, but a couple of key points that I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Do I have permission to do the, yeah, oh yeah, I got the full deal. I have all the badges and security and everything else. So I wanted to talk about, first of all, the difference between a conversational induction and an actual conversational hypnotic session. Because I do both. Kappa's got a lot of things right. He really did. And I think that key to both the conversational aspect of the induction and the session itself fall in the realm of one-upmanship. They come to us because they know that we know what we're doing, or they assume that we know what we're doing. And so they just sort of follow our lead, no matter what it is. It's just sort of a big responsibility, right? So what I wanted to show you guys was a very masterful, this is Igor Ledochowski. I don't know, are you familiar with him at all? He's pretty amazing. I'm going to show you a very masterful conversational induction. Maybe. Here we go. Get back to Zoom so I can share the screen. Share screen. Share sound. Here we go. Share. And
is that indirect enough for you guys? Do you want to try number 3? Do you see that light? Right. The one with the shade. I'd like you to look at that light. Do not look away until your eyes close comfortably. And you discover, that's right, in a brand new way, all the way. Really discover you know things now. And only when you have discovered that, memorized it to your full satisfaction, do you need to return with your eyes open and feeling really good. So far, so clear?
Okay. See how cool that was? Just how smooth and easy it was. I got to thinking, like, what is the difference between conversational hypnosis and regular Kapusinian hypnosis? And it's pretty much just lack of script, right? It's conversational hypnosis because we're having a conversation. Although in that particular situation, it seemed like he wasn't really saying much of anything that made any sense. He just asked him to look at something, which is what we recognize as fascination, right? And I think that fascination is part of the key, or is one of the key parts of the conversational induction that's the most useful. But there's a duality to it. There's the external fascination, but then we shift it into an internal fascination. The fascination that they have with whatever it is that they can fascinate on, be it a lamp with a shade on it, or the purple stripe in my hair, or the light on the camera, then they begin to start to feel calm, because it's like we talked about the last time, I think, Laura, and that was you, we're talking about a mindfulness practice, right? That's science. That's actually mindful science. Annika is here twice. I feel so special. As we fascinate on something, as we become mindful of it, no matter what it is, we automatically calm down. And so then what I generally do is that I shift the focus from the external to the internal. And then that begins the induction. I like to use the breath to start with because it's the easiest thing to be mindful of because we have it. But then when I want them to go deeper, and I still use the things like the post-hypnotic suggestion for rehypnosis. I don't use the word deep sleep because I feel like it's kind of cliche and sort of, glitchy. I don't know. I always say just deeper. And I don't say it like magically. I don't wave my hands and I don't snap my fingers a whole lot. But I condition them to the word, not to the sound of my voice. So then anytime I say the word deeper, they begin to go. But when I tell them that I want to go deeper, I want them to go deeper into their subconscious, then I'll shift the internal fascination all the way into their heartbeat. And I'll start at the chest, and then I'll shift it all the way out to the pulse in their fingertips. Maybe if I can get them all the way down to the pulse in their toes, I'll do that as well. But the catch is that it's not scripted. That's what makes it conversational. So if you're going to have a conversation about something, you sort of have to be like super educated about it. So you have to read the books, right? So you have to do these things yourself. You can't have a conversation with somebody subconscious about something that you don't know anything about. The other piece, I just dropped my pen, excuse me. The other piece is the actual session itself. The actual, the metaphors that you use. And this is where it gets tricky because I'm still not entirely 100% sure how I do it, but I just try to pay attention to what it is that they're talking about. And now we have Lula. I'm just trying to pay attention to the types of mannerisms that they use, to the types of language that they use. The more intimate that I become with a person and the similarities that I draw in their life, it's almost like, to be honest, it's almost like a transference, counter-transfer situation. So, like that happens anyway, right? So you find the similarities. You find the similarities in language, or I find the similarities in language. And then I'll use a metaphor either from my life, their life, or both of our lives together. Gene, who was here last time, he really benefited. I remember one induction that I did And Gene's a country boy. I'm originally a country boy, so like I know all the things that Gene talks about when he talks about like dogs, and he talks about dirt roads, and he talks about ponds, and he talks about the bright summer light and the bright summer day. So I'll use that on Gene. I hardly ever see him anymore. But instead of going down a staircase, go somewhere pleasant. Go somewhere pleasant to a pleasant memory, to a safe memory. And then we just continue going down that metaphor of going down a country road or going to a store. And when we're coming back, then we're coming back to dinner because Mama always rang the bell for dinner. For me, it gets a little tricky in LA because I'm not an LA guy, right? So I have to find other commonalities. Typically speaking, it's a mindfulness practice, or I work with a lot of addiction-related issues. And so I have that similarity because I'm in recovery as well. Go ahead. What did you think about Igor, Laura?
About what? The video?
Oh, yeah.
About that video? For me, it's Ericksonian for sure. Even the guy's mannerisms were like, how he'd look down, sort of like how Erickson would do, and he had a lot of that. And I think that there's like trance between each other. I mean, I know that like I do better once I get to a certain level of trance, and then I can talk from my subconscious to their subconscious. I have to reach that certain level of trance before my analytical conscious brain gets out of the way, and then I can go off script. I noticed that early into my internship, working with people, working more so with specific people that I had known previously to hypnotizing them. Then I would do like 40-minute hypnotic sessions with them. And then I'd get done and I'd be like, what the hell just happened? Right? And sometimes I wouldn't even remember the things that I said. I'd have to go back to the recording and get the metaphors. It's an interesting phenomenon how it's almost like a feedback loop, right? Yeah. The deeper they go, the deeper we go, the deeper we go, the deeper they go. What about you, Denise? What did you think about that video?
It's kind of interesting because I was actually, right before I saw you were going to be here, I was reading about conversational hypnosis, and I've kind of fallen on Igor a couple of times, and I really enjoy watching him. So just this entire conversation is very synergetic, and I enjoyed watching and seeing how the symbiotic relationship that he just sort of developed there with such ease. It was just without using any of the language that we've been sort of discussing throughout the last year. So it was really cool.
If you want, I want to go ahead and finish because he makes some key points. He has a different system, Igor does. He calls it ABS. He calls it the way into hypnosis is to absorb their attention first by fascination, then bypass the critical mind, and then stimulate the subconscious. And he goes on to discuss, this is like one of my favorite Igor videos that there is, but he goes on to discuss it in great detail and to discuss the inductions as well.
I won't be this ambiguous, I promise you. Do you enjoy that? Yeah. What happened? Did you discover something?
I'd like to say yes.
That feeling, you know that what I mean?
Yeah.
Close your eyes and really feel it. Notice how it grows, spreads. Automatically. I wonder when it will reach your fingertips. Will that be before or after you'll smile with delight. That's it. Something's happening beneath the surface. There's a lot of life in a lake that you don't see. That's right. And when you're ready, you can come back and look at the life you can see. With a smile. Right?
Yeah.
Wow. So anyone here a little confused as to what's going on right now? It's funny. The senior students at the school are going, nope, I get it. Everyone's just going like, what is going on? That was number 4, by the way. 4 of what? Any ideas? Trance inductions, yeah. We're looking at 4 core ideas for inducing trance, right? So what's the formula for trance, at least in our system, our school, our approach to things? ABS, absorb attention, bypass the critical factor, stimulate the unconscious. Did I have his attention? 4 times. Did we bypass the critical factor? Did something unconscious get stimulated? Now, we had no real purpose in terms of the internal work, so we just went with the idea of general building knowledge, opening doors up. We're just doing a bit of trance exploration right now. We're technically in what I call the trance training cycle, right? Still skill building, of course. But clearly, in terms of the requirements for trance to occur, we saw them happening 4 times, but in 4 different ways, right? So now we know that we're actually inducing a trance. What were the 4 ways of absorbing attention that we just engaged in? Anyone has to guess at least one of them? Eye fixation was one of them. So instead of just eye fixation, let's call it external fixation, right? We're fixing on some external object, because I can equally do it with listening. I can listen to the tram, for example, and that can still be an external fixation that's not necessarily eyes. You get the idea, guys?
For that, a lot of times I'll use the hum of an air conditioning or the hum of electricity. And it's a little trickier over Zoom, right? But if somebody is just paying attention, it could be the refrigerator clicking on, or it can be the fan in the background. I actually screwed up one time. I was here in Simi Valley, and I was talking to somebody in Minnesota. And I didn't factor in like the weather difference. It's always freaking hot as shit here, but it was snowing there. And so I said the word air conditioning, but his subconscious immediately went to heater instead. And he used that, and he went in with that.
Right? So which one was the eye fixation, by the way? The lampshade, right? And of course, there's some ambiguity being played around between the light and the shade, right? You get the idea? Never pass up an opportunity to not be understood by the conscious mind, right? What was another thing? What was another of the 4? Say again? A feeling. What would we call that? Where was the absorption of attention there? Internal, right? So it was an internal experience. So we have an external focus, and we have an internal experience. So we have basically the inner and outer mirroring each other. Lampshade is an external fixation of focus. Experience is the same focus, just internal. You get the idea? So what were the other 2 then? Confirming the experience. Well, that was more something we'll come on to tomorrow, ratification. That was just a device to help things along a little bit, especially because, thank you, by the way, yeah, poor Mark here had no idea which way we were going, just enjoyed the process, right? Yeah. So what were the other 2? Can you kind of remember roughly? There's some qualities to this. Say again? Language will always be present. That's our core toolkit, right? Trance phenomena. Yeah. So let's call it. You know what an old word for a trance was? It's like back over a century ago, 150 years ago, something like that. Do you know? Say again? Mesmerism was one of the terms, but for the actual trance itself, so the hypnosis was called mesmerism, but the trance itself was called fascination. Right? When someone was in a hypnotic trance, they were in a mesmeric state of fascination, shall we say, right? So does that give you a clue as to what was going on in the first couple of rounds? So we had a fascinating experience. One was internal. What was the internal fascinating experience? Remember what that was? Well, the feeling was really the focal point, or it could have been a fascinating experience, of course. We can cut the cake in a number of ways. So I think you're absolutely right. But I actually specifically avoided the feeling being the fascinating internal experience. Why? Because to avoid this very kind of little confusion thing there, right? The very first induction that we did was actually on a fascinating idea, right? Now, the idea I had in my mind was completely hijacked by his unconscious. Why? Because he started playing a word game with me around knowing everything and nothing. So that's the way I went, right? It wasn't the one that I had in mind. Why would I impose my one when he was offering me something much more fun, right? And of course, was it meaningful to you?
Yeah.
Was it somehow useful, even though you can't quite point it to how?
Yeah.
Right? How do I know that's going to be the case? Because he gave it to me, right? Can you remember what the fascinating idea was? Nothing. Nothing is, no thing and nothing is worth knowing. What? Yes, it's worth thinking about nothing so you can know things. Now, of course, we're playing with language a little bit. That's where you were right. It was a language game in that sense. But really, it wasn't language for the sake of language. It was language for the sake of creating an idea that was so fascinating, so compelling, he wanted to dwell on it. Does that make sense, guys? So what's the fourth one? So we have a fascinating idea, we have an external focal point, we have an internal focal point. What was the fourth missing piece? Yes. So it's a fascinating external experience. Right? Was it fascinating?
Yeah, I was really impressed.
Right. We didn't do much. But, of course, his unconscious was drawing the meaning out of that, and that's, of course, where the language and all those things come in. So there's four basic directions, and they're external in trance and go in, or at least get started by, shall we say. These are four catalysts for trance. External focus, internal focus, a fascinating idea, or a fascinating experience, right? Where does the boundary between an experience and an idea lie? Between a focal point and an experience? Who cares? What matters is the trance. You just have lots of directions to come at it from.
Annika, are you there? Annika? Annika and I were in class together. She's one of my favorite people in the world. I was hoping to be able to say hi at least. The language piece is something else that's super helpful for me. I like to play around with words. Lately, I say specifically, but lately, it's been playing around with the words attention, intention, and then tension. Yeah. One of the inductions that I've been using lately has started with awareness. Bring your awareness to the top of your head and then do sort of a progressive relaxation, and then bring them back to the breath and allow that to become their attention. And then as their attention becomes their intention, then the tension sort of melts away. And that's a fascinating idea, right? It's a fascinating way to play with words. And the fascination, I think, is what gets him into the trance. And according to him, the fascination is the trance. What do you guys think? Anybody? Yeah? Denise? There you go.
I'm really interested by the idea that the fascination is the trance. And when I think about my own times of going into hypnosis, it is kind of just fascinating. Like it's just, everything feels so good, and you're in this calm space. So I can identify with that.
What's the difference?
You bring me on to some new ideas of how to play with these words. So thank you. Yeah,
for sure. And it's, there may be a textbook somewhere for the word thing, but I just sort of happen upon some of these things. But what's the difference really between hypnosis and meditation?
physiologically. Not
That's
much.
funny. Reading my mind. I was going to talk about that. I was going to say something about that because I meditate like for years now, and the difference to me, I mean, there's actually not too much difference, of course, but what I feel like in hypnosis for me is that it's getting to that nothing place where you stay longer when you're in trance with that, and then the nothing place pops in and out kind of when I meditate. Like I can be there for a little bit, but it doesn't stay as long as like with a trance and hypnosis, I've noticed. Right. So yeah, it's that nothing place for me that I need to get to. Like, I mean, it goes from that external or internal focus to ultimately for me, like what I used to call just boredom. And so then you have no choice but to kind of drift out and, you know, into this nothing place or whatever. Yeah. And trance does that faster to me. Yeah. For me.
And what we know as hypnotherapists is that in meditation, we're bouncing back and forth out of theta. So meditation is to, let's use the metaphor of working out because I just came from the gym. Like literally, I still have my gym shorts on from the waist down. So like say meditation is working out. Hypnotherapy would be like working out twice a day with a personal trainer and steroids and eating right.
Yeah.
Right? You get to that place, but you get there better and more efficiently. I'm lucky enough or skilled enough or maybe just a touch of both that I work at a mindfulness-based treatment center in Burbank. And a lot of what I do there is guided meditation. So a lot of what I do there is group hypnosis all day long.
Yeah, it's funny because that's what I do on my own practice for like my thing is guided meditations, but then I was doing that before I went and got the certification. So I just added it. I mean, it's one and the same practically, you know.
Right. What I've noticed is that Denise is back. Yeah. Is that I'm more efficient now as a meditation leader because of sensory acuity. All right. And it's some of the meditations, honestly, I do like recovery Dharma stuff. I do refuge recovery stuff. And that's like scripted meditation or scripted hypnosis. And some people have a lot of abreactions. You know, a lot of these meditations were written, this is a very different world than it was just 5 or 6 years ago. Specific to like gender identities and sexualities. And one of the things that I found was that a lot of the like refuge recovery meta and all the heart practices, they use a lot of binary language for the benefactors and for the difficult persons and stuff. And let him or her go. And someone that doesn't identify as either male or female, or their difficult person is non-binary, then they have an abreaction, and then they have a cognitive dissonance, thinking that they can't. You know, it gets super tricky. And through sensory acuity, I was able to determine that that's what it was. It wasn't that they're having an abreaction to the process. It wasn't an abreaction to the idea of forgiveness. It was an abreaction to this core belief that they're starting to develop. And so shift the language. Let's see, what time is it? I don't have my contacts in either. 1:50. Okay, I've got about 15 minutes before I have to go. I wanted to show you guys another video of Erickson himself. Let me find it first so you guys don't see my browser history. Just kidding. If I can find it, where is it?
The following is an excerpt from it.
I love these videos to be able to see the man do the thing himself.
Disc 2, Story 3, Volume 1 of In the Room with Milton H. Erickson, MD. To purchase these DVDs, please go to miltonericksondvds.com. Thank you.
You all know the people who stick their big toe in the swimming pool. It may take them half an hour to get immersed all the way. I'll tell you the story of Max and Wanda. I first joined the Worcester State Hospital staff. I met Max and Wanda, a young couple, in junior psychiatrist. They were very much in love. They were very friendly. They invited me to go swim Lake and Seagoin, which adjoins the hospital farm. I accepted the invitation. Got my bathing suit, bathrobe, joined them in their car. And to my surprise, Wanda was so sulky all the way to the lake. Had nothing to say. And Wanda was a very sociable girl. And Max was his own cheerful self. When we reached the beach, Wanda leaped out of the car, took off her bathrobe, threw it in the back seat, and strolled down the lake and plunged in the water. Now, where do the two of us? Very bad manners. Max and I walked down the beach, chatting, and when Max's big toe touched wet sand, he said, "I think I'll go in swimming tomorrow." Then I understood Wanda's behavior. All he drew his big toe off the wet sand, sat down on the dry sand, and I plunged in the lake. Wanda and I had a good swim. Shortly on the way back to the hospital, I asked Wanda, "How much water does Max put in the bathtub?" And she said, "1 lousy inch." Short time, less than a week later, Superintendent offered Max promotion to senior psychiatrist. Max said he didn't think he was ready yet. Superintendent said, "If you weren't ready for it, I wouldn't have offered it to you. You're going to take the promotion or you're out of a job." Max resigned. And elsewhere, I lost all track of them. Some 25 years later, I lectured at the Pennsylvania Academy of General Practice. At the end of my lecture, an old, gray-haired man, an old, gray-haired, haggard-looking woman approached me and said, "Do you know us?" I said, "Your question implies I should. I really don't." And he said, "I'm Max." He said, "I'm Wanda." I turned to Max and said, "I remember two of you now. When are you going swimming, Max?" He first said tomorrow.
He says tomorrow, of course.
And I turned to one and said, how much water does Max put in the bathtub? He said, the same lovely, stinky 1 inch. I wanted to be in love with her husband. She wanted children. And she loved Max. And she waited and waited and waited until he was ready. He should have known by his 1 inch of water in the bathtub, he'd never be ready. He should have known by the fact that I'm going swimming tomorrow. I asked Max, what are you doing now? He said, I'm retired. I said, what rank? He said, junior psychiatrist. The fact I asked those questions indicate I knew back in 1930 that the answer would be in 25 years' time. Either you go in swimming or you don't. Either you accept a promotion or you don't. Either you become a father or you don't. And Harry poor wonder, living in hope until hope became impossible. Where else could she go? I've seen that sort of thing happen over and over again. In bright young high school graduates, full of promise, and take a job, or going to college next year. You're going to college next year. Going to college next year. And 25, 30 years later, they're still working in the barber shop. And all the years I've been in medicine, the only people I've seen who starved to death had a money belt with $100,000 in cash around their abdomens.
The only people who starve to death are people who have $100,000 money belts on their abdomen.
You read those stories all the time in the newspapers. And Collier Brothers of New York.
Do you think you could have helped Max way back then?
Hmm?
Do you think you could have helped Max 25 years before?
I didn't have the right to pick him up and throw him in the water.
Because he didn't ask for your help.
And I didn't have the right.
That's why you didn't have the right.
That's right. In grade school, Jimmy, every summer, sat on the river bank and said, as sure as God made little green apples, we're going swimming tonight. I went through grade school, high school, and Jimmy every summer sat on the river bank, as sure as God made little green apples, going swimming tonight. You had to wait out about 20 feet before the water got higher than this. Jimmy fought through World War I, came back, sure as God made little green apples, I'm going swimming tonight. Jimmy's dead of old age. He's going swimming tomorrow night. You never did go. You wasted all that time.
The other thing that I like to think about conversational hypnosis, because I have one client that I have to have actual conversational hypnosis with. I have to have an actual conversation. I have to tell him stories, and he has to respond back. But he has such strong treatment anxiety that he's terrified of actually going into trance. I'm not sure, but I think that Erickson, in that aspect or in that video, was talking to a room of students about getting their shit together and not procrastinating and continuing on. All of his little stories, they always had a point, right? What do you guys think? He's talking to a room full of students who need to stop procrastinating and get back to work? Most likely, right?
I think every hypnotherapist needs that after they graduate. There's a lot I see that belonging to other hypnosis groups or hypnotherapist groups, there's a lot of them that need to just do it. I mean, I can overthink something to death, and I know as soon as I get to that point, having known myself, okay, just go ahead and stick your foot in, plunge in, really. I mean, at that point, yeah.
Just stick your toe in the water and go swimming. Yeah. I don't know. That's about all that I had prepared for you guys, because I knew that I was going to have to be done at about 10 after. Any other questions, ideas, thoughts?
It's really nice.
Nobody else? Did you want to say something, Denise?
Oh, I actually remember one.
Okay.
Yeah. Was so I don't know, seeing the video, I guess, of what is his name? Igor.
Igor Ledochowski or something.
Okay. So seeing that video, I'm wondering, like, compared to Kappa-Sinian, there's a lot of inference that he seems to use, not Kappas, but, the Igor guy. A lot of inference he seems to use. So I'm wondering if, like, I don't know. I mean, because I don't really pay attention. I just pay attention to the person themselves. I don't pay attention to that category of, like, the emo fizz sort of thing. I'm just wondering if that plays into what you do when you do conversational hypnosis. Because to me, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
everything is tailored specifically to every client. But I mean, even at HMI, they'll say that that inferred works for both emo and fizz, but direct works for just fizz. So it seemed like just more economic and efficient just to use inference all the time. But there have been a couple of clients over the past year that they just have to have that direct suggestion. Close your eyes. You're getting sleepy. Those sort of things. But yeah, there are. It's almost entirely inferred. I don't have to say that probably 90% of the time I'm very ethereal and very vague. I find that the less actual suggestion that I use, I mean, because in the cognitive portion of the session, we've already discussed all the things that we need to discuss. So the subconscious is already working on the stuff. So the subconscious is going to fill in all the blanks, and all the vaguer the more vague that I am, the more the subconscious is going to work to get to that solution, to get to where I'm trying to get them to go. I have a smoking cessation client that I have to see tomorrow morning. I will most likely just talk about how beautiful and wonderful it is to be able to breathe in California versus the humidity in Louisiana. Or maybe talk about how hazy it was just a couple of days ago because of all the smoke fires coming. Yeah. And their subconscious will pick up absolutely 100% the rest in subsequent sessions. Because in my smoking cessation clients, I like to do sort of like just a general like health improvement, not just stop smoking or vaping, which is something that I probably need to do myself. But lifestyle improvement, go to the gym, rededicate your smoking areas in your home, and make them clean and make them not associated with that anymore. Make that your meditation station. So yeah, it just seems it really from the very beginning it seemed more efficient to use inferred suggestions rather than the direct literal finger snaps and stage lines. Mm-hmm. Denise, did you want to say something? Okay.
No, I'm just kind of listening to what you're saying right now and really just kind of absorbing.
Cool.
I really have enjoyed being here during this hour, and look forward to doing more of these.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to. Like I said, the last time that I did this, I was honestly just completely unprepared. I'd forgotten about it the week before. I had a whole lot going on in life, and so I got in here and I was like, what the fuck did I do? What was that? And it's hindsight is 2020. So in hindsight, I contacted Mike and I was like, I got to do that again. Man. People are going to think I'm an idiot. Yeah.
Not at all, though. I really enjoyed that session. I mean, I took a lot from it myself. Yeah, because I hadn't written, what was it? A lot of stuff like blog posts, things like that I like to keep up with for marketing on my website. I hadn't written anything. And then you did the demo of with him, and it was like communication and all this, just like communication flow and all whatever. But I just allowed myself to go with it too. I mean, I was literally camped out on my bed last time, just kind of like, nope, camera off. I'm going to zone out. And, and I really enjoyed it though. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And for me, then I started all of a sudden it would pop in my mind sometimes about some of the things that you said and, the hill and the dinner bell and all that kind of stuff. And for some reason, I just started writing out, and I did this whole marketing thing of a 22-day written out journal, sort of like subconscious journal thing, that I did. And I was like, wow, it's just flowing. These aren't even my words. Okay, but they are. But, it was just, it was really flowing. So I guess that was the communication breakthrough that I needed, as far as writing. But yeah. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think the spur of the moment shows what you do. And it was a good portrayal of that, actually.
Good. So, good. Yeah. I'm glad. Because my schedule has been so intense for the past probably 6 months. It's working at a treatment center, doing chemical dependency counseling and meditation stuff, in school full-time, both for chemical dependency counseling and getting a bachelor's in psychology. I have not diverged from the realm of hypnotherapy, but I'd say probably 20% of my time is dedicated to hypnotherapy, as opposed to 90%, which is what it was before I started this job at the treatment center. Even though I do use hypnotherapy in my skill set there as well, especially in the group sessions. But there was one client that, bless her heart, she just graduated Thursday, and it was the reason she even graduated, that she was even able to graduate because she was so just trauma focused, was a direct result of hypnotherapy. I was able to, because she was screaming at counselors and group, cussing everybody out, wanting to leave and go get high, every day, every day. And what she needed, first of all, was somebody that wasn't going to give up. And I was able to do that. And then she needed somebody to show her how to ground. And hypnotherapy gave that to her, so that she could, do the rest of it, which was EMDR, intense personal therapy, group therapy. So I do use hypnotherapy in my skill set, but as far as being a practicing hypnotherapist, it's maybe 10 hours a week now that I do that. as opposed to the 30 that I was doing right out of school. Again, just got to fill up the bathtub more than one lousy inch. And Erickson's videos are worth watching to see the master at work. And there are some of his clients, they never close their eyes. Some of his clients talk back the entire time, even in the middle of an arm levitation. They'll be talking back the whole time. He's brilliant. Okay, I gotta go. But it was wonderful seeing you guys.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
There you are. I miss you, man.
Hey, I miss you too.
How's Texas?
It's nice. We're having a fire right now, so I was like halfway in and out.
Okay.
I have my ears on the fire a little bit, but other than that, I'm great. I'm good. Just want to let you know, no more cancer in my body.
Wow.
Okay. Hey, you're doing a great, fantastic job. I am following you. I am amazed.
Yeah. You know the deal. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. All right, Will. Thank you.
Bye, Annika. Glad to hear you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Will.